We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Iran trying to influence U.S. elections for Harris. Hamas walks away from ceasefire talks again. Ukrainian fighting increases and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. In July, U.S. intelligence officials gave a rare briefing to media reporters on foreign threats to the election and warned, as they have in previous cycles, that Russia was the preeminent threat to the November vote. Iran, the officials said, posed a lesser threat, aiming to be a chaos agent in the election by exacerbating social tensions. Just weeks later, however, intelligence officials organized another briefing and delivered a different message. Their assessment on Iran had changed. Tehran wasn't just hoping to spread chaos, they said, but aiming to harm Donald Trump's candidacy, as it haphazardly sought to do 4 years ago. Iran was also attempting to directly engage Americans in its influence operations and even provide funding to support Gaza protests on college campuses, officials said, while relying on vast webs of online personas and propaganda mills to spread disinformation. Now, the threat posed by Tehran appears even more severe, though lacking in much sophistication. On Saturday, the Trump campaign said it had been hacked by foreign sources hostile to the United States in a breach the campaign linked to Iran. An anonymous source that called itself Robert had shared apparently stolen internal Trump campaign files with reporters at several media organizations, hoping to see the material published. The Palestinian terrorist group Hamas said Sunday it would not participate in new negotiations for a ceasefire in Gaza this week unless mediators presented a plan based on the previous talks, which were already rejected. The movement calls on the mediators to present a plan to implement what was agreed upon by the movement on July 2nd, 2024, based on Biden's vision and the UN Security Council resolution, Hamas said in a statement posted on Telegram. The terrorist group, which is still holding dozens of hostages, including Americans, claimed it has shown flexibility throughout the negotiating process, but that Israeli actions, including the assassination of its leader, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran last month, indicate it is not serious about pursuing a ceasefire agreement. Hamas's position stands in stark contrast to the fact that they have continually backed away from talks and refused to release hostages. Ukrainian President Zelensky confirmed that Ukrainian troops were fighting in Russia on Sunday, saying the offensive would help restore justice and put pressure on the aggressor. The incursion has not been met with disapproval from German and U.S. administrations, who previously opposed any foray into Russia. Moscow's mistake, argues military strategist Phillips Payson O'Brien, was to assume Ukraine's backers in the West would never allow this move. President Biden offered some more insight into why he dropped out of the presidential race on Sunday during an interview with CBS News, and said his Democratic colleagues told him his campaign would hurt members of the party down ballot. A number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races, and I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, and I thought it'd be a real distraction, Biden told CBS News' Bob Costa. Biden announced at the end of July that he would be bowing out of the presidential race and quickly endorsed Vice President Harris. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senator Chuck Schumer, and other Democrats reportedly called on Biden to drop out in private in the weeks following his disastrous first debate with Donald Trump. The polls we had showed it was neck-and-neck race, and we would have been down to the wire, Biden said. Vice President Harris was mocked online for requiring campaign rallygoers to prevent a government-issued ID upon entry, despite the Democratic presidential nominee opposing voter ID laws. Ahead of Harris's rally alongside vice presidential running mate Minnesota Governor Tim Walz in Arizona on Friday, her campaign sent out an email advising that only confirmed RSVPs will be admitted. The email said those on the RSVP list must present a matching government-issued photo ID in order to be admitted to the venue, KTAR reported. Ex-users began sharing screenshots of the email and lambasted Harris for perceived hypocrisy. Voter ID is racist, but you can't get into a Kamala rally without ID, actor Kevin Sorbo wrote to his 2 million followers. Thousands of pro-Hamas protesters will be marching outside the Democratic National Convention next week, but the city of Chicago has been sitting on a request from a pro-Israel group to hold a solidarity march during the Democratic National Convention. Even it is granted permission for a coalition of pro-Hamas activists to demonstrate when the proceedings kick off. The Israel American Council, a nonprofit organization representing Israeli Americans that seeks to strengthen ties between the U.S. and Israel, filed 2 applications with Chicago's Department of Transportation at the beginning of July, according to Aya Schechter, the group's chief programming officer. With a week remaining until the convention, the IAC has yet to receive an answer from the city, despite following up via phone and email. The group had also submitted an application in mid-June for a stationary demonstration within sight and sound of the convention, which will be held at the United Center on Chicago's West Side. That request was denied, according to a rejection letter, which said the proposed rally would be a direct interference with a previously planned permitted activity of public assembly and would create public safety issues. Americans may be avoiding theme parks this summer, but Disney is betting billions that it's a short-term blip. At its D3 Expo, the company unwrapped the details for a massive expansion of its parks, including a land at Magic Kingdom focused on its villains and new attractions centered around Avatar, Coco, Cars, and Monsters, Inc. Disney will also build 4 new cruise ships by 2031, bringing the total to 13 from 5 currently. The new lands are a key part of Disney's $60 billion investment in experiences over 10 years, and there's a lot at stake. The company reported a surprise decline in the division's profits this summer. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.